Welcome to the Mary Mac Show, where we will be talking about your feelings, experiences, and pain following the death of a loved one. Hello, my friends, my warriors. This is Mary Mac of the Mary Mac Show. I've been doing a podcast series, Death by Fentanyl, and many of the parents have come on to tell their story about their son, daughter. And today I've invited Candy Lockner to be with me. Her son, Dylan Corum, died by fentanyl poisoning on December 20th, 2021. He was only 23 years old. He is survived by his mother, Candy, his father, Chris, his older brother, Zakary, and he also has 3 nephews and nieces that he's very proud of. Charlee, his niece, Cross, his nephew, and Cain, his nephew. So we wanted to include them in this special tribute. So I thank Candy for being here today, and I'm honored that you came to be with me on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I usually start out by talking about Dylan's life. Where did he grow up? I know you live in Tulsa, Oklahoma right now, but was he brought up in Tulsa also?
Yes, he was born February 28th of 98, and he was born at the Indian Hospital in Claremore, and we lived in Tulsa, and we lived there until he was probably about 9, I believe, 10, something like that. And then we moved out to Beggs, out into the country, and so that's where we moved out there, and that's where most of his life, all of his adventures was.
Is it very rural out there?
It is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How long does it take to get to like a supermarket?
Well, it's not too far, maybe about 10, 15 minutes to the nearest town.
Okay.
So, but yeah. So he went to school out there, played football out there. He loved to hunt. He was never afraid of anything. From when he was little bitty, anybody picking on his brother, or I come home one day and he was walking down the street. He had his dad's work boots on, his brother's shorts, and no shirt, carrying a golf club. And somebody had taken his bike and he was going to get it back.
Whoa.
I think he was about 4, and I was like, well, we're not going to do this. So, yeah, he was not afraid of anybody or anything.
And he knew what an injustice was.
Yes, he did. He, like I said, he was never afraid of anything. He one time he got mad at his brother, and they were in his grandpa's tree, and his grandpa would play golf out in the front yard, and so he took the balls and he was throwing the balls at his brother, knocked his brother out of the tree. Oh. Yeah, but they were pretty close growing up. And so then, when we got out to Beggs, he started hunting, and he liked to go to the mountains with his buddies, and he liked to fish. He did archery, and he loved to skeet shoot. And then he loved his guns, weapons, and his Nova. He had a Nova, a 73 Super Sport Nova.
Just like
my dad. Yeah. So him and his dad was restoring that, and he would drive it he didn't care what it looked like. You know, we first moved out to Beggs and he put it in a car show. We had to tow it up there, but he was so proud of it. He got a trophy for it for most improvement.
Well,
But yeah.
that's good.
So, but yeah.
So he must have been very skilled with firearms then.
He was. He was. He was ready for the apocalypse. Zombies, whatever. He was going to protect us.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially now we see that that's coming around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, like, I heard stories that he had even buried some guns out in the woods and some food and some money just in case. Is that true? I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past him.
It'd be
So,
nice to go find it if you needed it.
oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure a couple of people would know where it was at, but and
Wow.
so, but yeah, and so he graduated. Gosh, I believe I'm so bad about this. I believe it was in 2019. I
From high
missed his
school?
graduation though. Yeah, he went to Beggs High School. He was a Beggs demon, and I had ended up going into the hospital the night before, so I was in the hospital for 3 days, and
Oh,
so I missed his graduation. So it was really hard. But
yeah.
and then he moved away right after that. He went to I believe he went to Texas with one of his best friends, which is like his brother. And so he went to work in the oil field. And so he got to travel all over and just he got to explore, got to do all sorts of things that I never got to experience. And I'm really glad that he got to, because he had the time of his life. He lived his life to the fullest. And
That's
so,
amazing. It's
yeah.
really funny because there are quite a few mothers who have said that. Like in the short span of time that he was on this earth, he got to explore and enjoy a lot of life in a very short period of time.
Right. Yeah. I know on one of his posts, he had taken a picture and he wrote on it, he says uh, that his fortune said that he had a long journey, but a short road. And that was just like less than a year before we lost him. And so it was just like, you almost feel like maybe they knew something and,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah.
So use every bit of it.
Oh,
Use
yeah.
every bit of it. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah. And he was a funny guy from little bitty telling story. He was such a good storyteller. Um, and he was always there to help out anyone,
Oh,
whether it be, you know, his cousin Tommy was moving um, somewhere in Texas and he was moving. So he drove all the way up there to help him move.
oh.
Um, and so, or going and picking up a friend that's wrecked their vehicle in the middle of the night in a ditch.
And they
Or,
needed help.
yeah. So he would pull up. He's got a video. He said, "Well, that's a funny place to park. Daddy's here, helping him out." And so, he was a very loyal friend and son. And so,
So nice to hear, isn't it?
yeah,
Even after he's gone, as so many people testify about his character.
right. And it's so funny because, like when he died, I was getting so many messages from, like, the farthest one away was a girl from Australia,
What?
and they had somehow became friends, mistake, whatever it was. They became friends. And so they had been talking for a couple of years. And so,
Wow, online?
yeah, and just as friends. And she told me, she was like, your son was, he had a very hard outer shell, like, he's this tough guy and always joking. But when it come to his friends, and especially the females, that he always wanted them to know their worth. And
Oh, nice.
so
That's
that meant a
so,
lot.
yeah, without a
Yeah.
doubt.
because everybody's seen him as this funny guy, and just rough around the edges. Oh, he was proud one time. He was in this Facebook group, and he was made his profile picture, or he was their profile picture of his mullet. He had the best mullet, so he was so proud of that. He said he's the one that brought the mullet back. So, but so you see him as that, and then you don't really, me as a mother, I see certain sides of him that probably everybody else wouldn't, but to hear it from like a stranger, and somebody so far away that never like physically met him, and just the impact that he had on her life, and there's been several that have stepped up and had told me how he made them feel, and to never let anyone or a man make them feel any less than they were.
Wow, that's a
So
big thing because young girls don't have their confidence yet.
right, right. So that was nice. He made me proud.
That's so nice. Oh, that's so nice to hear. He
Yeah,
just sounds like such a lovely soul.
he really was. He he was he was something else. So
Aw.
like, and I think what really helped me after he had passed away, um, like, well, he had a necklace and then one of his guns, and I always wanted that. And he would say, "Well, go buy your own." And I'm like, "Oh, Bab." But when he passed, that was the things that I got,
Mhm.
and it's not how I wanted to get him, but I joked with him. I said, "Well, I finally got it," and I grabbed his shirt from his room that he had on the night before, and then I grabbed his belt that he wore every day, because his brother is 6'7", and he was like 5'10". He was short and stocky, and his brother was tall and lanky.
Oh,
and
wow.
and so he had his belt that he wore every day that kept his pants up. And to me, that belt helped me. you know it kept me up and kept me going.
That's
So
great. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
I'm sure you still have
I've got it right here. His belt and his shirt.
it.
I
I
keep it with me
love
all the time. Yeah.
it.
But yeah,
Do you wear it sometimes?
I sleep with it sometimes. I not as much as I used to, but
Uh-huh.
you know,
Brings you comfort.
yeah. When I
That's
feel
good.
really low, I'll get it out, and so I know he's there.
Oh,
And so,
that's so great. That's
mhm,
so great.
but yeah. Um, so yeah, so he went, and he was in Texas working, and he traveled all over, working in the oil field, and just living his life, and being, you know, not letting it, not letting nothing pass him by. He took every chance that he could take, you know,
That's
and
great.
yeah, I was so happy. I missed him, and but I was so glad that he did that, that he got to experience life, which a lot of people don't get to,
No,
you
not
know.
really. Or they don't take the initiative to
Mhm.
experience other things in life except what's
Right,
around them.
right. And so, but yeah.
That's so
So,
great. And
mhm.
what is it like to work on an oil field, like in an oil field? It must be amazing.
Well, he liked it. Long hours, he loved the money. It's all about that money. And he did that, I think, for about 3 years, 2 or 3 years he did that. Then I think he lived with his best friend, brother, Andrew, and um the shenanigans that they always got into. Oof, they kept those. And so he come back home, and he lived with his brother for a while. Then he did construction a little bit, and then he worked a couple of jobs here and there, and then he got hooked up with another construction company, and he was doing really good in there. He was moving up. He was a foreman, and
Oh.
he just bought his new truck, and he was really proud that he bought a truck like his mom. So he always,
Did
he could mention
he
that.
get the same one as you have?
Yes, just a different color. Yeah. So he would always say, "But do you and your mom have the same truck, matching trucks?" And so yeah, so he was quite proud of that. And
Oh, that's
so
so cool.
yeah, but
So what color is yours and what color was his?
he had a maroon one, and mine was white. And so
I
he was he was proud of that. And then he had his Harley, which he liked to ride on
can
that.
see it behind you.
Yeah, that's his. Yeah.
It's
So
beautiful.
yeah. Um, let me see, what else can I say about him? Oh man,
I
there's
once
just
dated a guy who had his Harley,
uh-huh.
and he had I can't remember the name of it, but in the front it had that wrap, that
Hmm.
went like this.
Well,
And
now the one in this picture here, that one's not his. That was his
oh,
buddy's. But he had oh my gosh, I can't remember what they're called, but
yeah,
it's
I
where it
couldn't
has
remember the
the
name of
whole
it.
front.
Yeah, it had that front that was kind of like a
Uh-huh.
bend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
what we rode. And
Yeah.
some of the wackiest trips we took, like, do you
Mhm.
know who Joyce Meyer is?
Yes,
The
I do.
evangel. Okay. Well, she was going to be in New Jersey, and at the time I was living in Jersey, close to the city, and
Hmm.
so I heard she was coming to Hershey Park,
Uh-huh.
and so I was like, I'd really like to go there. And he's like, you want to take a road trip? And I was like, well, I never did before on the back of a bike, but let's go for it, right? And so we did. And unfortunately, and we went there early in the morning, and we stayed for the morning service. We went and had lunch in the park, and then after the evening service, we came back.
Hmm. Hmm.
And on the way home on the turnpike, it started raining. I
Yeah.
mean, bad. And
Yeah.
I have my head dug into his back, and
Uh-huh.
he just endured it. I was like, wow, that
Them
was pretty.
raindrops can hurt.
Oh my God, yes, because it's like swinging in front of your face.
Hmm.
And yeah, that I'll never forget that road trip.
Hmm.
It was, I love the freedom of being on a bike. I
Yeah.
just loved it. I
They're
can't do it
nice.
anymore, but
Nice.
yeah, it was really a nice time in my life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell me, when he was living with these guys you
Hmm.
mentioned before, how
Hmm.
long was he living with them? And
Maybe about a
how did
year.
that come together?
'Cause they all went to school together.
Hmm.
So they all grew up together. They were all very, very close. Very close. And so usually if you've seen one, you've seen the other. Or they wasn't too far behind from each other. And so like I said, they would go to the mountains. Every November they would do a mountain trip and go hang out. And so which he enjoyed that. You know, they would just get up, hunt, whatever they do, drink, just have a
Yeah.
good time with each other
Oh,
and
that's
just
so good.
celebrate brotherhood.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
so, but yeah.
And sometimes in certain states, I know, in different states I've lived in, they only have hunting season during a certain period of the year. I don't know
Hmm.
if it's that way by you, but it
Yeah,
was.
it's like that here as well. And so, but yeah, I think they would just go up there just to have fun more than anything,
Yes.
just hang
Yes.
out. And
Yes.
so it was
Uh-huh.
good. I mean, I always got some good pictures from there.
That's good. Did he
Yeah.
bring home whatever he caught so you could stack your fridge or
Um,
freezer?
no, usually like I said, I think it was just more for the brotherhood, and
Okay.
hanging out. Um, but they may have caught something, I'm not sure. And so, but
That's
yeah, they had a lot of fun.
that's so
So,
good.
hmm
So, will you tell me when you found out that he had died and how this all came together?
um, well, I was supposed to have been at his house on the 19th of December, but I had decided to go Christmas shopping with my son Zach and daughter-in-law and the grandbabies. And while we was in the store, I had run into one of his friends, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Which I guess I had never met him before, and if I had, I don't remember. I was like, you look just like my son. He was like, yeah, I know. Everybody tells me that. So I called him. I was like, Dylan, I said, there is this guy here. He looks just like you. He said, is his name Clint? I was like, yes. And he just started laughing. He said, I'm going to have to call him because I tell him all the time that you look just like me. And for my mom to tell you, you look just like me,
That's
this
for
is,
sure.
yeah. And so we laughed about it and we went on about our thing. And then we talked a little bit later that night. And he said, well, I'm going to go to bed, Mom. So I was like, all right, I love you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. So I said, okay. So tomorrow morning happens and my son calls me, my oldest son, Zach, and he calls me and asks what I was doing. I said, well, I'm just waking up. And I was like, what are you doing? It was strange that he called me because he should have been at work. And he was like, well, he said, I just got something to tell you. And I could tell in his voice that there was something wrong.
Yeah.
And so I immediately thought maybe it was his grandfather. So I said, is it Pawpaw? And he was like, no. So I was like, okay. And I was like, well, is it your dad? And he was like, no. And so then I just immediately told him, just like pretty much, shut up. Please don't tell me it's your brother. And he was like, it's Dylan. And I'm like, okay. I'm like,
What
well, what's
happened?
wrong?
Yeah.
He was like, he's not here no more. I was like, what do you mean he's not here no more? He said, he's gone, Mama. I just screamed. I didn't even ask what happened or anything. I just knew I had to get to him. Um, so uh, I get to his grandfather's house. My boyfriend picks me up and takes me because we're about an hour away.
Oh, wow.
And so I get there and um, he hadn't shown up for work. And so they had tried to call him and it wasn't like him. He never missed work. He always worked late. Um, so I get to his grandpa's house and his dad told me that he had found him because he had went to check on him to see why he hadn't been to work. And so he ended up having to kick the door in and, of course, and found him and he was already gone. And um, so his friends that were there, his dad was asking him questions about, what had happened, and they had said that he had taken a pill that night, which was a Roxy, and they said that they had taken one as well. Um, but um, but that was all that was really said, and they didn't really say, where it come from. But then they later on it come out, that it was fentanyl and cocaine, and so that had happened, and and stories kept kind of changing, and so we're just very unsure of exactly what happened. We know what he took. We don't know exactly where he got it. There was a text message of somebody wanting to sell him some cocaine, and he had told them no. And then the story was that somebody had come over, and Dylan was asleep, and they went and woke him up, and he had given him his bank card, and they went and got money, and then that's what you know they went and got whatever, and he paid for it. They took it, and um, and there was a Snapchat of him sitting on the floor with a bottle of Mountain Dew where he was fading in and out, and I had told them when they were filming him that he was probably ODing and dying,
Right.
that his body was just shutting down, um, and so and it took a while to get information from him, which I don't believe anything was intentional because I know they all loved each other. They were all very, very close. But it's just hard, how the stories have changed and, you know, uh, the unknown of what really happened that night,
Right.
you know. So, um,
And it's hard because you can't accuse because you don't really know.
right, right. And so, and in my heart, I don't feel like that anybody would intentionally give him something knowing that it would kill him,
Right.
you know. Um, so, I hang on to that, you know. Um, because I think it would crush me to think that something was given to him on purpose,
Right.
you know, knowing how close he was to them and the bond and the loyalty that he had for his friends, so I just, and we couldn't get no justice for him, no investigation because of him being native, and which I'm sure now as the years has passed that things are changing, and so I'm sure there would be more investigations now. And I just wish we could have got some kind of, because we know where the text message come from, but there's nothing we can do about it. And so,
Well, if you have the proof of the text message and you knew it was Snapchat, I think you said,
yeah,
so who knows? If your
yeah,
heart leads you, maybe you'll go back to the DA and see what they can, or
yeah.
the tribal and see what they
Mhm.
can do.
Because that's the thing, that they never took his phone. We still have his phone. Of course, the Snapchat was taken down. After it was seen, you lose it and you couldn't save it. So we
Yeah.
don't have that no more. But which I don't think I would have wanted to see that anyways. But
Well, let's believe that somebody from the house will tell the real story.
yeah. So I hope
Because that's a difficult situation when you don't have true answers, or at least
mhm.
you don't feel like you have true answers.
Yeah, to what truly happened. And I also feel sorry for them as well, because of the burden that they must carry
Yes,
every
and the
day,
guilt.
and the guilt, and because they all grew up, all of us mothers, we all love the children as our own. And so it's just difficult, you know
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but
Well, who knows? Maybe one of them listening to us when it's posted, they'll decide to send a note, and they don't have to identify themselves. They can just tell
right.
what happened with the story,
Mhm.
and it would just give rest to a lot of people's souls,
Yeah, it sure will.
you
And
know?
even to them,
Yeah, for them too,
yeah,
you know? And they don't have to identify themselves, if you're listening or watching this, you
yeah,
don't have to identify yourself, but just tell the story, write it out, send it to,
yeah.
Candy, so that her heart is at rest. I think that would be a nice thing.
Because I honestly feel like if it would have been the other way around and it would have been one of the other boys or another friend of Dylan's, I do believe, Dylan would have, come forward and said, okay, this is what we did. You know,
Yeah,
I don't think he would have held anything back,
right.
you know, because he wouldn't want that
Burden.
and that burden, and he wouldn't want that mother to go on not knowing exactly
Mhm.
what happened.
But they're afraid they're going to get in trouble.
Exactly. And I think a lot of it's that,
Yeah,
which,
yeah.
you know,
Because if it's found out that they invited a person over and that person brought the drugs,
mhm,
it
yeah,
could get them in a precarious situation. So
yeah,
they probably feel we better leave this alone.
yeah, 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 I totally agree with that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's difficult, you know, to,
And how are you and your family dealing with your grief from Dylan's death?
um, of course it gets better as the days go on. You still have your moments. I know, of course, like my grief and pain is different than his father's,
Sure.
because his father did find him, and so he deals with a whole separate kind of issues with that. um but we are we're making it, some days better than others, but you know it's like they said, it comes in waves. It does come in
Yes,
waves.
it does. And it could be the slightest thing that, triggers it, because you could be in a store and all of a sudden you find his favorite something, right? His
Right,
favorite
right,
cookies, or you could be in store where you buy clothing and you find belts that look like the belt you have in
Mhm,
your hand.
mhm, mhm.
And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, you're like, holy Moses, like, I
Yeah.
don't know with this.
I can't do well, like for the longest time, seeing a maroon Dodge truck was very difficult. Or passing by where he worked at, that was really hard. But I can do them things now.
Yes.
And and I can, for the longest time, I felt so guilty for finding joy in anything.
Oh,
How can I
yes.
be happy,
When
knowing that
he's
he's
not
here?
here.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably been the hardest thing for me. And so, but yeah, it's
Yeah. We all go through that part.
mhm.
You don't feel like you have the right, you know,
Right,
you don't
right.
have the right. I I'm at a point now, it's many decades later, but I feel grateful for the
Yeah,
time that I got to
mhm,
spend with Angela, you
yeah.
know, and she was a really quirky little kid.
Uh,
I remember the first time she came to our home and she said to her father, "So what side of the bed do you sleep on? And what side of the bed does Mary sleep on?" That's to myself, wow, that was a pretty mature kind of question, right?
yeah, yeah. Um, I
That's the kind of girl she was.
yeah, like I mean, like I was with him. It wasn't the last Thanksgiving. It was two Thanksgivings before he had passed. I was over at his. He was at his friend's house at this time, and went over there, and we was hanging out, and he took a picture of me and him, and I will never forget. He called me the old incubator. He said, "I got to hang
What?
out with the old incubator today," and it's just like I
Oh
was like,
my
"Oh my
goodness.
God." Yeah. So his little friend, she calls me on my birthday and she'll sing to me and she'll call me or she'll text me and say happy birthday, old incubator or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's nice that she remembers.
Yeah. Yeah. They were they were close. I always tried to tell him, I want you to have a baby with her. You guys don't have to be together. Just have a baby with her. You know? And she was like, no. She's like, well, we decided that when we're 27, if neither one of us are with anybody, we'll have a baby for you. So I was like, okay.
Aw.
So, but yeah.
That's kind
She's
of funny.
just
You know how there are people who have such great friends and they say, we don't get married by the time we're 30, we're marrying each other.
yeah. That was their plan, so
Aw. Aw.
it's so me and her are still pretty close.
Oh,
So
that's just great.
yeah.
That's really great.
Mhm. So but
So
yeah.
as a result of your grief, you decided to be part of families supporting families in Oklahoma.
Mhm. Yes. And
Tell me
so
how that works for you. Is it good? You enjoy it?
it is good. I probably don't participate as much as I should or I have in the past. It's very hard for me to do like the public speaking and because I feel like I ramble or you know um but so I try to go to the events and I'm consciously trying to do more now and I don't know, I'm just like feeling like I'm being drawn back into it more
Okay.
because I know it's helped me in the past and being with others that have gone through the same.
Yes.
Um,
You know what it is? It's like um, individuals who have gone through exactly what you've gone through, they can actually say to you, I understand what you're feeling because they
mhm,
do.
yeah,
Not the person who came up to you at the funeral and said
yeah,
that. And then
yeah,
they disappeared and you never seen them again, you know?
hmm hmm
Or
yeah,
I'll be there for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a hard thing too. Is watching the friends, which and I understand because it's like, time keeps going, but it has moved, it's almost a standstill at times for me.
Yes.
And seeing them, get married or have children, all the things that you would want to see your child accomplish, you
Yes.
know. And so and that is more difficult now, you know.
Yes.
Um
Without a
so
doubt.
yeah.
That's tough. Yeah,
That's
because you know, like you'll never go to his wedding and you know that you won't have grandchildren from him and that kind
right.
of thing.
Right.
And that's very difficult. You know, I'm
Hmm.
grateful that you have Zachary's family
Yes.
to
Yeah.
dote on, to dote
Yeah.
on.
Uh-huh.
And so how old are his nieces and nephews? So they were a big part of his life.
Yeah, Charlie, she's 7, and Cross is 6, and Cain, he's 6 months old. And
Oh,
so
okay.
he never got to meet his uncle, but he is named after him. And so he kind of, I always called Dylan my boy, my boy. And so Cain is now my boy.
Oh,
And so he's he's carrying on for Dylan,
that's
you know.
wonderful. That's really nice that they named him. Was Dylan's middle name Cross?
No, his middle name was Dylan's middle name was Cain.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry. I'm
no,
sorry.
that's okay. Yeah,
Yes,
it was
you're right. The littlest one is Cain now.
yeah. And so yeah, and so yeah, he's named after his uncle, and
That's
so
nice. That was really precious for them to do that, you know?
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, we went to dinner, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and Cross, he's 6, and I was holding Cain, and Cross come up to me, and he was like, Nana, he was like, I sure wish Uncle Dylan was here so he could meet Cain. I was like, well, baby, I said, he gets to see Cain every day. I said, he's watching him, and I'm sure he's telling him to do things he shouldn't be doing, wish he was here, because Dylan was up to something. He was like, well, I know that, Nana. He says, I'm just sad that he's not here so he can't hold him and get to love on him like we do. Oh, let me tell you,
I know that was to
it was
really
hard.
like hit your heart. Yeah.
That was hard because I had did really good. Matter of fact, I think it was for my birthday, and I had did really good, and I hadn't cried. Boy, I
Uh-huh.
cried. And so, yeah, it's just the
And
little things like that.
no, I agree with you. And I believe that there are times when little ones can see the spirits that we can't, you know,
Oh,
when
most definitely.
when
Hmm.
they're very little. I've seen videos of little kids that go to the cemetery and they're standing there talking to the person who's in the ground, you know,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
and they're like, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? Oh, I'm talking to Nana,
yeah,
like it's nothing.
yeah. Yeah, Charlie has done that, and saying that she'll talk to Uncle Dylan, and like his best friend Andrew, his children, uh, Carson, Kinsley, and Cadence. Um, they were all very close with him. They were
Wow.
just his niece and nephews as well, and they say that they see him and talk to him, and which he was a very big part of their life as well, because he lived with them, and so they were very, very close.
Oh,
So yeah.
wow. That's so
Hmm.
nice. That's so nice to have that and to know that, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
So, but yeah, because me and their dad Chris, we grew up with Andrew's dad, so we all went to high school together. So they were all brought up together, and so they were like brothers. And so
wow, that's great. Well, is there anything else you might like to share?
I don't think so. I don't know if
Okay.
there's anything else you want to ask me.
No,
Uh,
I think we did a lovely synopsis of his life
thank
and
you.
death. And I do hope that members of the House will send a note. I really encourage you to do that. Just do it anonymously. This way we'll put everybody's heart to rest. There's nothing, no, no sense of um, shame. There's no sense of anything like that. It's just a matter of knowing what really happened.
Right.
So I'll close on that and I'll say thank you so much, Candy, for spending this time with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
And I send our best to everyone in his life who loves him. And I hope for the best with everything for you and your family. So God bless.
Right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye now.
Bye.